Hello and welcome to Estic Media on YouTube. I'm quite excited to be with you today to share what is actually going on in the polity. But before I proceed, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe now. It's ESTIQMEDIA. That's Estic Media. And we discuss all and sundry on this platform, from politics to lifestyle, healthcare, fashion, movies, entertainment. All we discuss all of it, including written poems, spoken words, all of that right here on Estic Media. And of course, if you want any branding purposes, if you also want us to cover any of your event, why don't you send us a message or possibly a DM, and we can give you the coverage that you require. Also, for voiceover purposes or any visual brand, whatever what you call brand, visual brand coverage, send a message and we'll definitely have a conversation as regards to that. Now, let's head on to the topic of conversation today. Recently, the DHQ released 8 or 9 names that they consider to be wanted. Now, you know what transpired in Delta State between Okwoloba and Okwama community. You know how about 17 soldiers were murdered by some militants. Now, we've been able to get reports from that community. Some community members said that the soldiers were the ones who started it. And other people were asking questions that if a community or two communities are having a dispute and the traditional leaders there or the state government representative, that is from the governor's cabinet, cannot resolve the imbroglio or the conflict, then you actually deploy the police to see how they can resolve things if things degenerate to the point where people begin to die or people are killed and properties are destroyed. So the first question a lot of people were asking is, why were the Nigerian military there? Why were they drafted there for a peacekeeping mission in the first place in a case that you call a civil matter, right? That's a question a lot of people ask, if there were no ulterior motives or something on the line that they did not want the people to know. Well, when the situation happened, when the soldiers were killed and decimated the way they were, the federal government, headed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, asked the military to go to Okwama community, investigate what happened there, and then bring the perpetrators of those heinous crimes to justice. And that is basically what the Nigerian military did. They deployed their personnel to that community to actually investigate and ask questions. And so far, 9 persons or 8 persons have been declared wanted. But there's a lawyer and a human rights activist who is questioning the motive of the DHQ. His name is Inibehe Effiong. He's saying that what kind of justable attribute or attitude is that? And that why have the institutions, the Nigerian institutions, why have they been bastardized? Why will the military be the ones to declare those individuals wanted? That the ideal thing for the military to have done is, after they have done their investigations and compiled their reports, they ought to have handed it over to the police for them to make the announcement, because it's a civil case. It is not a military administration where things are done that way. So there is a bastardization of our institutions. Would you agree with what Inibehe Effiong is saying? Because he's saying that it shouldn't actually be the way that it went. For example, there was a solemn burial of these Nigerian soldiers who were killed in Delta State, and the president actually decided to acknowledge them by giving them a posthumous national award and actually sending their children to school that is up to a university level. So there's a scholarship being given to the children of the soldiers who were killed by the militants in Delta State. Well, apparently, Inibehe Effiong is saying that in as much as it was important to get the perpetrators that committed this crime, it is not the place of the Nigerian military. The police is supposed to be the one to do that. Another thing I also want us to consider is the Labour Party. The Labour Party has actually been the center of the conversation when it comes to party politics, and a lot has actually been happening, which has begged the question on Peter Obi as the 2023 presidential candidate there, by trying to see if that party would help him realize his political ambition for 2027. Now, there was a convention that was carried out by the Labour Party recently, and that was in Anambra State. And apparently, during the convention, journalists were barred from gaining access to cover that convention. INEC also distanced itself from that convention. According to INEC, they did not follow due protocol. And in that convention, Julius Abureri emerged as the chairman of the Labour Party, which has sparked conversations and another imbroglio within the Labour Party. Now, questions were asked: why were journalists barred from partaking in the convention that was carried out in Anambra State? Why were some individuals also not part of the national convention? Why was INEC also not part of it? Because INEC is meant to authenticate who emerges as the chairman of the Labour Party. Well, because of that, the board of trustees of the Labour Party is now in charge. They are going to be the ones to convey when next another national convention will take place, and this time around it will be an all-inclusive national convention. But the question is, why was a national convention organized if they would not make it an all-inclusive one? Do you know what it takes to actually organize a national convention? Let me read out something to you. Apparently, when INEC distanced itself, you remember the Labour Party moved the convention from Umuahia, Abia to Nnewi, Anambra State on Tuesday. And meanwhile, while journalists were being addressed, according to INEC, they are saying that the party needed to properly inform INEC about the charge in venue and dates, which demonstrates a sense of commitment to transparency. Now, the party is saying they did, but INEC is saying that there were some protocols that were not observed by the Labour Party. And because of that, they distanced themselves, they alienated themselves from partaking in the process. Okay, so here is also another thing to consider. The Nigerian Labour Congress, according to a particular court ruling that took place in 2018 by Justice Gabriel Kolawole, apparently, based on that ruling, the Federal High Court declared the NLC to be the owner of the Labour Party. And logical minds asking questions, if the Labour Party comprises of the PDP, the APC, the SDP, literally every member that has different political party affiliations and political party, what you call interests, why should they be the ones to be in charge or be the owner of the Labour Party? Meaning that you're having other political members decide the activities, decide how the Labour Party goes. Others feel that this is a ploy through which opposition political parties like the APC or the PDP will deteriorate or possibly create a sense of vacuum or porosity within the Labour Party, so the party will no longer be a strong force to contend in 2027. I don't know if that's the case, but the question is, will the Labour Party brazenly and openly allow these loopholes? Will they not see whatever machinations are being implemented to ensure that the party dissolves and no longer has the momentum or the spine it garnered in 2023? Are they deliberately falling into the loopholes or the vacuum created by the opposition by allowing some whatever internal wrangling to fester this long? Now, others are saying Peter Obi should interfere. Well, he has, in the way he can. You know that he was once in the PDP, now he has joined the Labour Party. He met a board of trustees, he met other members and other founding persons that constitutes the originating formation of the Labour Party. Will he come and superimpose? Will he come and make decisions for the party when already is a body that is in charge of the party? He can only try to mediate. But if his mediation is not effective enough, what should he do? Others feel that Peter Obi is too lenient and he's acting as a gentleman. But what exactly should he do to try to resolve the conflict within the Labour Party? Others are saying, fine, the Labour Party seems not to be interested, seems to be carried away with whatever financial support they got in 2023. Maybe Peter Obi should leave the Labour Party and go start off a different political party, which others are considering should be named the Obedient Political Party. But others are saying if Peter Obi keeps on moving from one political party or the other just because he wants to realize a particular political interest, then it means he's not loyal. So where has this situation placed Peter Obi? That's the question. The Labour Party is meant to be a party that is supposed to emulate or eliminate change, right, from the status quo that Nigerians are used to when it comes to politics and political party members. But it feels like the Labour Party is not even strong enough to contend with the tide or fight the tide that politics involves, with them allowing what is going on take place within the party. How will they be a strong opposition if already immediately post-election they began to have issues from the Lamidi Apapa faction and Arabami, now Julius Saburi, then the NLC? This is one too many issues that would be distracting Labour Party from having to organize grassroots mobilization, create that sense of consciousness within community members across the federation ahead of 2027. They're supposed to make the party become so popular, unconsciously popular in the minds of everyone. If they intend to win the 2027 elections, whether they like it or not, the APC has already commenced its campaign ahead of 2027. So does the Labour Party even know what they're up against? Do they even know the responsibility that the political party needs to implement? Do they even know the job that is at stake as a major political party that intends to change the status quo when it comes to presidency, when it comes to governance, when it comes to the politics in this particular culture of ours in Nigeria? These are the questions. So if they do not understand, should they go for a convention where they will have to go through the grand norm of reintegrating themselves, reminding themselves of what their manifesto stands for and what it represents? I think these are the things that they have to do. But what do you think? What do you say? What should Peter Obi do? And the sense of awareness and consciousness that will be ingrained in the minds of people, whereby without a Peter Obi, where does Labour Party stand? The support, was it given to the Labour Party as a party? Was it given to Peter Obi as an individual? Peter Obi cannot be the one to sit on all the political applications required, or all the political appointments required to form a cabinet. So if Peter Obi emerges as a president, who becomes his cabinet members? If the Labour Party seems not to have that sense of unification, these are the questions. So there's a lot of work that the party needs to do. But what would you advise Peter Obi to do? What would you advise Labour Party to do? What kind of branding would you think that we need to incorporate now? And do they think that 2027 is too far for them to allow what is going on fester this long? These are the questions that have been asked, and I want to know what you think. So I would implore you to comment in the comment section. Let's know whether we like it or not. Politics is a conversation that sets the tone and actually makes a lot of us actually have a different thought-provoking aspect or angle to our political landscape in this part of the world. My name is Esther Wachuku. Make sure you subscribe. Bye for now.